Hello, Abnormal Investigations. This is your 9 o'clock drop for today, which will be the second drop for today. There was one an hour earlier at 8 o'clock. It was a pretty short drop, and I decided that since it was a short one, I would do a 2 drop today. It's just some short ones I've got stuck back, and I thought, you know what, we got to get those out. Also, if you're a Patreon or YouTube subscriber, you have a video coming out soon, so be watching for that. And other than that, guys, we got, don't forget, the 8th coming up. Blake from the Lost Cryptids Conservatory is going to be on. It's going to be a great night of visiting again, another live. I'm really looking forward to it. And then the 12th, Amanda, the Bigfoot lady, is going to be rejoining us again. So December's got quite a few things going on, and we may even have another guest coming on that's had a few encounters. So it looks really fun this December, guys. We got a lot going on. I'll never forget the 2 terrifying encounters I had years apart that left me shaken and questioning the existence of the unknown. The first encounter happened when I was 16 years old. Growing up on a small horse and cattle ranch in the Flint Hills of Kansas, I had finished my chores and decided to sleep outside on the deck, enjoying the cooler night air. As I lie there, I heard the usual sounds of wildlife, but then everything went silent. That's when I heard a low, deep growl. It was a growl that I'd never heard before. It really bothered me. It almost made me to the point where I just wanted to get up and go in. The next morning I found a freshly killed deer below the deck, with claw marks and a look of panic in its eyes. I knew then that whatever I had heard the night before was responsible for the deer's death. But why did it leave it at the porch for me? Was it a gift? Years later, I had a similar encounter while in college in the Northwest. My friends and I had gone on a late-night drive to the national forests and grasslands. We were having a fun time, playing with Nerf guns and enjoying the peacefulness of the night. But then everything went silent again. We heard something moving through the dry grass, deliberate steps toward us. That's when we saw it, a pair of eye reflections, almost 8 feet off the ground, standing perfectly still. It was an almost invisible outline of something large and shaggy, with pointed ears. It looked like a tall person, but with shaggy coat, like a German shepherd. We were terrified, and my boyfriend Jay quickly started the truck and peeled out of there. We didn't stop until we got back to the city, where we all stayed up talking about what we had seen. We were all shaken, but none of us wanted to admit what we had really seen. Looking back, I believe I encountered a dogman or a werewolf-like creature. Twice. I know it sounds crazy, but I know what I saw and I heard. It made me realize that there are things out there lurking in the unknown, and even in the Midwest, so always prepare yourself for things that you will never expect to see. Trust me, I know how they can really bother you. But you know, the thing is, what really bothered me the most is I went back that summer to my mom's house after I finished a semester of work, and she had told me she was doing dishes one night, and she looked at the window, and in the window was a half man, she said, half wolf. She said it looked like the movie that Jack Nicholson was in. She screamed, and she ran. My father come running to the kitchen to see what was wrong, and whenever he went outside, that's when my father had his encounter. He was standing at the end of the deck, the one that I had slept on, which was about 3 to 4 foot off the ground. He heard something crawling, he thought, and when he bent over to look, it reached up and grabbed him by his shirt and slung him off the porch, and about 8 feet from the porch he landed on his face, head, and shoulder. My dad was stunned. He couldn't get up for a second, and whatever it was, he heard run off on 2 feet, growling. The next day, my dad decided that he was going to put an end to this, and he drove some big old nails through some wood. He laid the wood all around the house, and then he took some of the grass that he had mowed, and placed it over the boards to hide the nails. Later that night, while we were sleeping, we heard the most god-awful noise you'd ever heard. We heard like a loud yelp, but a scream also, kind of like a man. But it was a yelp in between. It was weird. And then the most awfulest banging on the side of the house. It sounded like the wall was going to come down. Dad grabbed his 12 gauge, and we sat there waiting to see what would happen next. Back in the back room, the very back bedroom, we heard the glass shatter. We were all scared. Dad got up, shining his flashlight down through the hallway and through the kitchen to try to see what was back there. And the next thing I know, my dad turned to us at the door and he screamed, "Oh my God, it's in the house." And he slammed the door and he locked it and he leaned against the door and he started telling all of us to push. He said, "All of you, I need you to push." And we were all pushing on the door, praying to God that whatever Dad had seen didn't get in. And the door started pushing and it started slamming. We thought for sure that it was going to come in. The top of the door bent out. The lock at the door handle was holding, but the top was bending in. I thought the door was going to snap. And then it stopped. Then we heard it walk down the hallway. And if you've ever heard your dog walk when you haven't clipped their nails, that's what it sounded like. It was the step with the click, the click, the click, the click down the hallway. And then we heard the most god-awful noise. We heard my cat screaming. It sounded like a cat whenever cats fight. It was a terrible sound. Then the back door shut. We stayed in the room till morning. We was afraid to even leave. We couldn't call nobody because the cell phones were in the front room on the chargers beside Mom and Dad's recliners. No way was we going to the front room. So we stayed in there with Dad. Morning finally came. Dad opened the door. The door was shredded with scratch marks. Whenever we walked down to get our cell phones to call, I heard something in the kitchen. Drip, 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 drip. And it was a drip that was hitting like cans, like pop cans. We collect pop cans and aluminum to resell. So I walked over onto the wall. We have a pop can smasher that goes up on the wall. You stick your cans in it and pull down this lever. It smashes the cans, and then you throw the cans in the sack. Or, in some cases, the pail we had. I couldn't scream, and I started crying. Tears were rolling, but I couldn't make no noise, and my mom walked into the kitchen, and she screamed so loud I just started shaking, and my knees buckled, and I fell because it bothered her too. It had stuck the cat in the smasher, and had smashed the cat almost through the little bitty hole at the bottom that drains the fluid from the cans if they have any left. The whole cat was almost pushed through a little bitty hole the size of a bolt, and everything else smashed around the side. Blood was dripping from the ceiling and the walls where the cat, well, it looked like it had exploded. I couldn't believe something could do this to a cat. The cat didn't do nothing to it. It was angry at us, but why would it do this? And when we walked outside, as it was walking off of the porch, it grabbed my dad's bike that he would ride for exercise. And right where most boys would fall, that would hurt most guys, it had grabbed the bike, it looked like by that, picked it up and just bent it almost into a U, and it threw the bike out into the yard. We haven't seen it since. Dad has since paid a guy to come out and put bars over our windows, reinforced our doors. Our house is like Fort Knox, I'm not joking. I mean, you're totally safe once you're inside. We've had lights installed, cameras installed where we can sit inside and monitor everything. It hasn't been back, and I pray that it never does. This was the most evil, selfish thing I have ever witnessed. Yeah, that is very evil. And if you listen to a lot of accounts, there's a lot of people that do have their animals killed or injured. And I don't know why they do that, because some animals don't like these things, and I know there is some cases where some animals can't wait to be with these things. My mom's dog, for instance, at my granny's when all that was going on, it would go outside with it even in the rain, and it would keep the little dog dry and bring it back to the door. So I don't know why it would have done that to your cat unless it was just in a rage. And then you have to ask yourself, was the rage because it stepped on the nails? Was it, was it angry, hurt, and wanted vengeance? I think that's probably what it was. What do you all think? Let me know in the comments what you think. And thank you for listening, guys, and until next time, keep your head on a swivel. Don't be something's dinner. We'll see you on the next one. And if you don't mind, smash that like button for me on the way out. Thank you.